BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Alasdair Lamont, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Monday, the 13th of January. And what a weekend we've had.
A lot of fans stick to the team and support. Some fans wanted to show their disappointments. So it's important to kind of want to see, and then everything will go back to normal.
Rangers eased to a win over St Johnstone at Ibrox, but they're still disquiet among their fans. Meanwhile, up in Aberdeen,
George Grant will take the penalty. Right footed off the post after doing a touch, and Aberdeen clear. And the fans celebrate as if they've scored up the other end.
An injury time penalty, but neither Aberdeen nor Hearts could break the deadlock. Plus, there might have been only 3 games on Saturday, but there was no lack of action.
McCowan's there, the dancing feet, and he scores too! Rolls it home with the left, and Celtic love a late goal in Dingwall. They've scored twice in stoppage time.
Late drama in Dingwall, overhead kicks in Paisley, and Hibs into the top 6.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Well, I'm joined for this episode of the podcast by former Rangers keeper among other clubs, Cammy Bell. How are you, Cammy?
Yes, I'm all good, Al. Been an enjoyable weekend of Scottish football again, as we always get.
Good stuff. And Scott McDermott of the Sunday Mail. Scott, I know you were a couple of games over the course of the weekend, but have you thawed out since?
I was just about to say, I've just about thawed out after Dingwall, the coldest game I think I've ever been at, Al.
Yeah, it was chilly in Hamilton on Friday night as well, I have to tell you. Although the thermometer apparently read -8, I didn't think it was quite as bad as that. I was disputing that. But anyway, I think the thaw is beginning. So anyway, let's get on with the weekend's discussion, and we'll start at Ibrox events there. I mean, a lot to get through, actually, not even just in terms of the game, Scott, but also, you know, the briefing over the course of the weekend from the new Chief Executive Patrick Stewart, the pressure on Philippe Clement. In terms of what you saw on the park today, though, was it the kind of response you expected from Rangers?
Good response in the first half, Al. They played with a tempo, an intensity, a hunger that you would expect to see for a Rangers team, you know, coming off the back of a bad result, obviously, in midweek. St Johnstone were poor, but Rangers took advantage of it, and you know, they couldn't really live with Rangers in the first 45, deservedly 3 up. Could have been more, and at that point you thought, no, they would maybe go and get 5 or 6 in the second half. But I suppose it's a kind of sign again of where this Rangers team, where this Rangers squad is, that inconsistency. A couple of weeks ago at Easter Road, they go 2 up, take their foot off the gas, the tempo drops, and they end up dropping points. It was similar today, second half, just seemed to step off it. A bit more negative with their passing, and allowed St Johnstone to kind of creep back in it. Obviously, get the goal. I mean, the outcome was never in any danger, but it'll frustrate Philippe Clement, because at 3-0, I think he said after the game, he wants them to go and get 4, 5, 6. He wants them to be relentless, and they've not quite got that yet. But I think that's where this team is. There's still an inconsistency and inexperience. They've not quite get that winning mentality where they go and just bury teams. So I think that'll have frustrated them at full time.
Cammy, you were there as well, and there was a notion of going to be a walkout on 55 minutes, and a section of the fans did leave the ground, you know, in reaction to not only the news that Philippe Clement has the backing of the board, but I think just generally the sense of disquiet about the way the club is being run at the moment. What did you make of the general reaction at Ibrox? I know a lot of fans, probably the majority, stayed, and there were boos at those who left. So it's clearly a split even among the support.
Yeah, as you say, Al, it is a real split in where the club's are at the moment. Yes, you've got this group that are really unhappy with the board at the moment and the way things are going. You've got the other fans that are just wanting to back the team and try and get the best of what's on the pitch at the moment. listen, you heard a few rumblings behind me with regards to people thinking, does this affect the players on the pitch? It certainly shouldn't. Listen, I was at Rangers when at a time of real turmoil. They were in the lower leagues. There was a lot going on up the stairs with discontent with board at that point as well. And I don't think it does affect you as a player. You've got to just concentrate on what you can affect, and that is the game of football. Rangers dropped off in the second half. Their performance was completely different from the first. And as Scott said, it's frustrating for the fans, frustrating for the manager, because when you go 3-0 up after 25 minutes, you surely got real confidence to go on and try and really batter a team, really put them under the cosh for the full 90 minutes. And Rangers just stepped off their game and allowed St Johnstone back into it. As Scott said, there was never in doubt the result was going to go Rangers' way, but performance-wise, second half, it was disappointing.
I mentioned that briefing, Scott. I'm sure you're across what was said by Patrick Stewart at that. I've had a read through it myself as well, and seems like he talks a good game. But I guess the headline was that the continued backing of Philippe Clement, albeit there was a caveat there. That the results, particularly, obviously away results, can't continue as they are. What did you make generally of what you had to say?
I thought there was good points and bad points, Al, if I'm being honest. I think he comes across very well, Patrick Stewart. I think he's got a good pedigree. I think in general, I know it's early, but my instinct tell me it'll be quite a good appointment for Rangers. In terms of backing Philippe Clement, I wasn't surprised. I said last week I expected Clement to be there until the end of the season, pretty much no matter what, unless results go drastically bad. I think the Rangers board, as a collective, have decided they don't want to go down that route again. They've sacked too many managers in the last few years. They want to try and stick by him. In the summer, they moved the goalposts on Philippe Clement, and I think they were pretty grateful that he hung around given the kind of budget restraints that were put on him. So I'm not surprised that they've backed him with that caveat, as you mentioned. Just the 1 or 2 wee kind of things that did take me by surprise was Patrick Stewart talking about bringing in outside people, football experts, to try and sort out the football department. And I think Patrick Stewart's been brought in to do that job himself, along with obviously the new chairman coming in. In terms of football experts, Philippe Clement is a football expert when you look at his background and what he's done in the game. So listen, I'm not quite sure about spending money for outside people to come in and try and sort it out. Rangers have one big problem just now on the pitch, and that is they struggle to win games away from home. They don't have this mentality, mindset, whatever you want to call it, to go and pick up points away from home. That's killed them this season. It's killed Clement in terms of what he's trying to do. Their home record's excellent. So they need to find solutions for that pretty quickly. They obviously need to get a couple of new players in, and that was the other thing. Patrick Stewart said, there should be scope this month to get 1 or 2 in anyway, which would be a help to the team, especially with defensive problems. So as I say, good points and bad points, but they've definitely got work to do.
I think Scotty, what you said there again with regards to Patrick Stewart, I read his comments and I think there was loads of good points. I think what he's saying about the outside agency coming in and experts coming in would be with regards to the footballing department. Listen, how many times have we spoke about sports science at Rangers so far this season? It's been a huge debatable department, and for me, they've got so many players injured at the moment, so something's going seriously wrong at Rangers, the way that the amount of injuries they've got, and they've got all these expert sports scientists. So whether he's referring to guys that, again, departments within the football club that really need looked into to where we're going wrong, because certainly there is definitely things going wrong in the footballing departments right throughout, and that goes down to all the medical, the footballing department, the recruitment department. Absolutely every department needs looked at, and I think that's what he said. Look, it's deep rooted. We're going to have to look right from the bottom to the top, and it's going to take them time as well.
It's almost a podcast in itself, this really, isn't it? We could go on, but we need to touch on St Johnstone and before we move on to the other games. Cammy, I mean, that's them now 9 points adrift at the bottom, isn't it? And the problem there for Simo Valakari, he wants to play in this particular manner, but it's cost them today at Ibrox, and it looks like a long way back for them. Is there any saving St Johnstone this season?
I think they need to change the way they're playing, Al. I really do. I think they need to start getting points on the board. today I thought they were absolutely shocking the first 25 minutes, I'm being perfectly honest. The goals they conceded were horrendous. Really, really poor decisions, putting themselves in trouble. Again, you've got to... You look at the teams that Rangers have played recently and how they've got results. They've been... Again, you've got to be solid. You've got to give yourself a base. St Johnstone are so wide open. Easy to play against, concede terrible goals, individual errors as well. So I just can't see a way back for them at the moment. They need to change their style of play. Yes, listen, it's great. Everyone wants to play that expansive, attractive style of football, but you also need to win games of football. You need to put points on the board. So they're really struggling at the moment. They need to change something.
Okay, let's move on to the second Sunday game. An entertaining, albeit goalless draw at Pittodrie between Aberdeen and Hearts. Ross Doohan pulling off a heroic penalty save and added on time to prevent another defeat for the Dons. Scott, I guess that's definitely the positive for Aberdeen, that they have avoided defeat, but they did need that last gasp intervention from Ross Doohan. But will that feel like a potential turning point, do you think?
The manager will certainly hope so, Al. I mean, at least they've stopped the rot. They've got a point on the board. They've ended that poor run. By all accounts, I think Hearts were the better team again today, so it's not as if it was a great performance from Aberdeen. But as you say, it's a clean sheet. It's a point. It kind of sets them up. You would like to think a bit more positively going to Ibrox on Wednesday. I think Jimmy Tilleen was able to give a couple of the new signings that their first starts today. That will help them ahead of Wednesday. But listen, I mean, they're not at the woods yet in terms of getting back to where they were at the start of the season. Obviously, I think that will be a kind of slow process because they've taken a lot of defeats, a lot of negative results. There's going to be new players coming in this month. That will take a bit of time as well. But as you say, just getting a point on the board and a clean sheet. The positive of saving the penalty late on, that should help them. There should be a wee bit more positivity around the place in the next few days.
On the flip side of that, Cammy, I suppose missing an injury time penalty might make it feel a bit more like certainly dropped points for Hearts rather than a point gained. But it does feel like they certainly made an improvement in recent weeks. Do you think they will continue in a sort of upward trajectory from now on?
Yeah, I do, Al. I think when the new manager came in, I expected it to be more consistent. They had a little bounce, but then it dropped off pretty quickly and they were really struggling to get a consistent run of results. It looks as if they've turned that corner again. You look throughout the squad, they've got really good players. But as you say, that'll be a sore one today. To miss that late penalty, that would have been a huge result for Hearts going and getting that and put them on a really good run. But yeah, you see positive signs there. You see as if they have turned the corner and firmly believe their squad's good enough to go up that table.
Okay, let's move on to Saturday's fixtures. We'll start with that late show in Dingwall. Celtic scoring in the 81st, 96th and 98th minutes to seal a 4-1 win over Ross County. Scott, having been there, did you ever feel that was in doubt, that they would get the goals they needed to secure another victory?
I did actually, Al. Yeah, I mean, with 10 minutes to go, it felt at the game as if Ross County were in the game and they would have a good chance of holding out for the point. I mean, I thought Celtic, with a better team first half, could have been more than a goal up, but the changes at half time helped Ross County. They get back into it with a penalty, and as I say, late on it felt like they would hold out. But Kyogo, I think, was the story at the weekend. He was a story for Celtic because this is a guy that's supposedly kind of out of form. Even talk about him leaving Celtic in this window or the summer, but he's proved over the last few years how good a goal scorer he is, and he comes up with two massive moments for them at the weekend, two clinical finishes, typical Kyogo finishes for me, and were absolutely crucial in setting them up for the win. Obviously, they get the two late goals when Ross County open up a bit, try to get an equaliser, but Kyogo was the big story for me.
Yeah, and he was playing in a slightly different position as well, just in behind Adam Eder, in the absence of Maida and Kuhn. But I mean, it's a sore one for Don Cowie, Cammy, but County have been there before, looked like they were holding out against Celtic and losing late goals. But I wanted to ask you about Jordan Amisa's performance in goal. Did the commentary of that one, and he pulled off some really top class saves, didn't he?
Yeah, he was brilliant on the day. Again, he made some massive saves. Obviously, really unfortunate with the penalty where he's came off his line. But yeah, listen, there was big moments in that game, and as Scott mentioned, that Kyogo was the game changer. He's a fantastic footballer. His movement is phenomenal. If any young striker wants to watch a player and learn from him, Kyogo's a man to watch, because his movement off the ball and get the position that he gets in, he's electrifying when he goes in these positions as well. So really difficult to deal with. But as you say, the Ross County goalkeeper had a fantastic game. I think, listen, the scoreline doesn't really reflect the way the game went, because I was with Scott that I genuinely thought there was a period where Celtic could have dropped points, but then that shows you why they are where they are, and that's the top of the league by a country mile at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hibs up into the top 6 for the first time this season, extending their unbeaten run to 7 games after they saw off Motherwell 3-1. I mean, they're definitely another team improving form. Martin Boyle has come back onto form himself. He's out of contract in the summer. Scott, do you see Hibs pulling out the stops to try and keep him?
I think they should, Al, because I think he's absolutely vital to Hibs and what David Gray wants to achieve there. I mean, it felt strange early in the season when they weren't doing so well, and you would see Martin Boyle on the bench and no starting games, because you just associate him with being one of Hibs' key men. He has been for the last few seasons. So I don't think it's any coincidence that the upturn in form has coincided with Boyle coming back into the team. I think he's been captain. He's back scoring goals again. I think he's playing a slightly different position. I think he's been playing more up front or off the striker rather than being restricted to playing wide. So no, he's in great form. Other guys like Nicky Cadden, I think Triantis is really coming onto a game and developing or emerging as a really important player for them. And I'm pleased for David Gray, because he's obviously went through a really tough time at the start of the season, under serious pressure for his job. No, people want him out. They've stuck with him, and as I say, it's still early, but that looks to be a good decision because they're absolutely flying now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Motherwell just a couple of points now ahead of Hibs as a result of that defeat against Hibs. A red card for Jack Vale, but perhaps more concerning for Stuart Kettlewell. Another injury for Paul McGinn. He's had a tough time, Cammy, of late. We have to hope that that's not going to be another one that keeps him out for a length of time.
Yeah, listen, obviously he came off early in the game, and again straight away he knew that something that looks like as if he knows what it is has went straight away. So it's never a good sign when a player knows he has to come off. But again, it's been really difficult for Stuart Kettlewell and Motherwell at this moment in time. The amount of injuries they've got, the amount of problems they had. Heard Stuart speaking before the game saying it was probably the hardest 2 days in management that he's had to deal with. The goalkeeping situation that threw up their goalkeeper, Oxford, has been fantastic this season, made the most saves in the league so far, and then he's obviously out for a period of time. You're bringing in a young, inexperienced goalkeeper in. So yeah, it's been difficult for Motherwell. They just need to hang in there, try and get players back as fit as they can and as quick as they can, and hopefully they're in a position that they can still challenge and try and stay in that top 6.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a good season overall, haven't they? Dundee United, another side who are doing terrifically well, and it was Louis Moult, a moment of magic from him that sealed the 3 points at St Mirren. A bicycle kick. Scott, he's had to bide his time really. I take Sam Dalby's had the headlines of late up front, but Louis Moult popping up as Jim Goodwin's side remain in third place in the table.
Definitely. I mean, when Dundee United get promoted, Al, you just assumed Louis Moult would be one of their key players and starting most games, but obviously Dalby's come in, and I suppose you need to praise Jim Goodwin for that, the way he's kind of managed the squad, the way he's added to it. The job Goodwin's done has been incredible, I think. I mean, this is a guy obviously didn't happen for him at Aberdeen, took a lot of criticism. I think the job he's done there in terms of getting them back up and what they've done this season has been incredible. Made really astute signings like Dalby. And the amount of late goals they've scored this season, getting another one at the weekend, I think that tells you a lot about the kind of spirit there, the resilience they've got, the togetherness that he's obviously managed to foster in the last kind of 18 months or so. So a brilliant result against a St Mirren team that are struggling a wee bit at the minute, going through a difficult spell. But for Dundee United, what a brilliant away win and a brilliant goal to get the points.
Yeah, absolutely. Just touching on what Scott mentioned there, Cammy, Stephen Robinson will be probably ruining some of the missed chances in that game, including the last gasp penalty. But it's 4 defeats in a row. They're into the bottom 6, albeit, it's still very tight in there. But I was just looking at, they've got Queen of the South away from home in the Scottish Cup. They probably don't fancy a kind of trip to play the Doonhamers when they're on the run they are.
No, Al, again, it's been a real difficult period for St Mirren. Again, you look at that match against United, missed chances, missed penalty. Some big moments in that game that swayed it United's way. But yeah, they need to get out of this run. It's maybe, listen, you can flip it both ways. You can look at it's not an ideal game, but it's a step away from the league form. So you can go down to Palmerston. Queen of South, it will be a difficult game. They'll know that. They'll need to be at their best to progress to the next round. But yeah, they need to get out of this little bit of a rut they're in at the moment. Dundee United have been their kind of bogey team this season as well. I think that's, 4 times they've beat them now. So yes, it's wasn't ideal, but I think they need to dust themselves down and get back to winning ways as soon as possible.
Great stuff, Cam. I think we've just about squeezed everything in there, but that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to both Scott McDermott and Cammy Bell, and thank you for listening. And remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast, bright and early every day. So to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone. Bye for now.